Okay, so I want you to forget everything you think you know about digital screens. Seriously, for decades, they've been these static, predictable, kind of boring pages. But that's all changing. A revolution is happening right now, and it's making our interfaces literally come alive. This quote, it really nails the whole idea. Think about it. We used to build static screens. They were rigid, predictable, almost like a page in a printed book. But now we're building liquid screens. They're fluid, they're adaptive. They can change their shape to perfectly fit whatever you need in that exact moment. So before we jump into the future, we kind of have to understand what we're leaving behind. And that brings us to the end of an era. The end of those static screens and why the design model we've all relied on for a decade is, well, it's finally breaking down. For the longest time, responsive design was the answer to everything, right? You just make a version for a phone, one for a tablet, and one for a desktop. Easy. But what happens when the screen doesn't have a fixed size? What if it can stretch, or fold, or show up in a million different new ways? All of a sudden, that old model just completely falls apart. And that breakdown is exactly where things start to get really, really cool. This is where a whole new idea comes into play, and it's called generative UI. Just imagine this for a second. What if your interface could literally draw itself just for you at the exact moment you needed it? So what exactly is generative UI, or GenUI for short? Well, think of it like this. It's an interface that's created by an AI, but not ahead of time. It happens in real time. The AI looks at your context, who you are, where you are, maybe what you're doing, and it builds the perfect interface just for that one single instant. It's not pre-built. It's built for you on the fly. Okay, I know what you're thinking. This sounds like straight up magic, but I promise you, it's not. Let's pull back the curtain for a second and see how this whole thing actually works. It's a surprisingly simple and logical process, actually. All right, it basically boils down to just 3 steps. First up is input. The system grabs some raw data, like your calendar appointments, which are often in a format called JSON. That's just a standard way for computers to organize info. And it mixes that with your current context. So let's say the fact that you're walking down the street. Next, the processor. A small, super efficient AI right there on your device takes all that information and makes sense of it. And finally, you get the output. Based on its analysis, the AI generates a totally custom UI, one that's perfect for someone who's walking and just needs to see their next meeting at a glance. So what's the biggest, most mind-blowing benefit for the developers and designers who are actually building these apps? Zero, zilch, nada. That's how many lines of layout code they have to write by hand. No more fighting with CSS or media queries, that special code that tells a website how to look on different screens. The AI handles all of that. It's a game changer. And listen, this isn't some science fiction, far off in the future idea. It is happening right now. There are real tools that developers are using today. So let's take a look at the major SDKs, which are basically the toolboxes for builders that are bringing GenUI to life. Right now, you've pretty much got 2 main players on the field. For mobile apps, you've got the Flutter GenUI SDK. This thing is fantastic for creating those truly liquid, shape-shifting interfaces on your phone. Then for the web, there's a tool called Vercel V0. It's amazing at generating dynamic little pieces of a website. So you could have a buy button that automatically tests out different colors and words to see what works best. There's a powerful solution no matter where you're building. Okay, so we've talked tech, we've talked tools, but what does all this actually mean for the people who, build these things for a living? This is where the story gets really, really interesting. Because with GenUI, design stops being about just drawing pictures, and it starts being about building a system. And here's the absolute key takeaway. The job itself is changing. Designers aren't just pushing pixels around a screen anymore. Instead, they're becoming architects. They're the ones who design the rules, the constraints, and the logic that the AI has to follow. Their job is less about how it looks in one specific instance, and more about defining all the possibilities. They're not just creating a thing, they're creating a system that creates the thing. So, the big question, is your next coworker a robot? And you know what? Maybe. But it's not what you think. This isn't about humans being replaced. It's about an incredible new collaboration between human creativity and AI execution. The future of design is already here, and it's asking all of us to think a little differently about what it even means to create something.